What's up, guys? It's episode 350. Welcome back to the show.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Hey, what's up? It's Jacqueline. Welcome back to the show and welcome to my kitchen. Today is my 3-year podcasting anniversary, September 4th, and as a gift to you for listening over the last 3 years, I have decided to give away my secret chocolate chip cookie recipe that is very near and dear to my heart, that everyone loves and everyone begs me for. In fact, this week I've had 2 orders from 2 different people to bake this for them, so this all lined up perfectly. It's my anniversary. I'm going to celebrate by baking cookies and by giving you the recipe. And I'm also going to be making these for Corey and my sister. It's his birthday on Wednesday, and then it's her bodybuilding competition this Saturday. She's a bodybuilder. I don't even know if I've ever talked about her. She's prepping right now. It's peak week. And for after her show, she wants to have these. And so I'm going to have to bake these and ship them today. So we're going to do this all in my kitchen together, and I've got the microphone in front of me. I also have a mixing bowl in front of me with no KitchenAid, no hand mixer. It's going to be all done by hand, and so yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a bit chaotic and crazy, but I'm really excited. I'm this is like peak happiness for me right now, like baking cookies and podcasting. I can't think of a better way to celebrate my podcasting anniversary, and I will tell stories along the way. This isn't going to just be a cooking show. I want to talk about how I got into podcasting. I'm going to react to my first podcast episode that is extremely depressing to like listen back to. I'm going to react to that, and yeah, I've got just lots of stuff to share with you about the last 3 years of my journey of podcasting. So I'm going to start off by reading the recipe. I'm just going to give it away for free right now. Here you go. If you want to have people knocking on your door all the time for your, what am I saying? Fuck. Jacqueline, I feel so out of sorts right now. Like I don't have my headphones on. Okay. I'm standing up podcasting. I feel very professional right now. Like I feel like I'm on like the Today Show doing a segment. Like this does not feel natural. So basically what I'm saying, get your pencils and paper out right now and write this down, because this is literally the only chocolate chip cookie recipe you'll ever need. And I'm also going to be sharing with you not only the ingredients, but the technique involved in making these, because I feel like it's all about how you make them. It's like everyone can use the same ingredients and they would turn out completely different, if that makes sense. So over the years, people have been like constantly asking me about my cookies, because if they've had them before from me, oh my God, I can't talk. Holy shit. I am drinking a lot of iced coffee right now. It's midday. People are obsessed with my chocolate chip cookies. That's my point. Okay, cool. So let's start off with the first ingredients here. You're going to need 2 cups of unsalted butter. I'm doubling the recipe. I'm assuming that if you just double it. Okay. Every time I make chocolate chip cookies, I double it. I don't fuck around with like 1 cup of butter. I do 2 cups of I'm already swearing. I feel like I'm supposed to be like really like this setting, just me in this little pink apron, go to YouTube or Spotify to watch. I feel like I should be more like polished and poised in my little like housewife fit right now, but okay. So double the motherfucking recipe. You're going to need 2 cups of unsalted butter. Okay. 2 cups of white granulated sugar, 2 cups of packed brown sugar, 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract. Try to get the best vanilla you possibly can. I happen to have the cheap shit today because I was in a hurry to buy these ingredients, and I was at Vaughn's and I had decision fatigue looking at all the different vanillas, and I just grabbed the cheapest one. Anyways, 4 teaspoons of vanilla, 4 large eggs at room temperature, And the butter, you want the butter to be softened. You want that to be room temperature too. I leave this out overnight when I make cookies. So a couple tips: room temp eggs, room temp butter. 2 teaspoons of baking. This is like the special ratio. This is where like it matters to get this right. Baking soda and baking powder. Okay. 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of sea salt. Now, if you don't have sea salt, I would recommend kosher salt or something that's a little more coarse than like a table salt. Now, I'm going to teach you something right now about baking soda and baking powder that will literally change your life, and you will never forget this for the rest of your like for the rest of time. Okay. Powder puffs, soda spreads. So when you think about a chocolate chip cookie, the baking powder, a lot of recipes, I feel like some recipes don't call for very much of it or at all, but the baking powder is what lifts up the cookie and kind of puffs it up a little bit. The soda, the baking soda, spreads it out so it's flat. So I think that the perfect ratio is 2-to-1 for baking soda and baking powder. 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Soda spreads, powder puffs. Soda spreads, powder puffs. I don't know who taught me that. I forget where I learned it. Probably my mom, or I don't remember, but that is how I never forget what each ingredient does when I bake. So 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of sea salt or a coarser salt than just like I like to taste the salt in my cookies, if that makes sense. That's why I like it to be a little more thick. And last but not least, as many chocolate chips or as much dark chocolate or whatever chocolate you want as possible. I would say somewhere in between 4 to 6 cups. I just buy the giant Toll House cookie chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate chip. Oh my God. You know what it is? I can't hear myself, the headphones, like the monitoring in the headphones today. And so I don't know. I'm not like keeping track of this conversation very well. I don't know how to explain it. If you're a podcast host, you get what I mean. Maybe a lot of hosts like don't wear them though. They don't wear the headphones. I love it, but we have a different setup today and that's okay. So I buy the Toll House chocolate chips, the semi-sweet chocolate chips, the big like 36-ounce bag. And I pretty much use the whole thing. And then I also chop in dark chocolate, like 85% dark chocolate, like little chunks of it. So that's the recipe. Let's get into it. I'm going to start off by creaming the butter and the sugar. And I'm also going to, while I do that, I'm going to share with you how I got into podcast. Do I restart this? Like, should I feel like, you know what? The difference is today's podcast is very like, feels formal. Okay. It feels structured. It feels, I don't feel like myself right now. You know what I mean? I need to like, what do I always say? I need to bring more sauce to it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I just feel in my head right now. Should I re-record this? No. Because the second I start putting these ingredients in this bowl, we're off to the races and I can't like restart the episode. So I better like pull myself together right now. I drink a little more coffee. I'm going to tell you the story about how I got into podcasting while I cream the butter and the sugar. Let's do it. So all you need to know about butter when you buy it at the grocery store is 2 sticks is 1 cup. So I'm doing 2 cups of butter, which is an entire pack, like the square pack or the rectangle pack of butter when you buy it at the store. Okay. So I'm just going to drop this in the bowl. I've got this metal mixing bowl and a silicone spatula. And I'm going to just drop the butter in. I don't have a garbage can, so this is going to be really messy. I should have put one next to me. Fuck this. Okay, this should work. I just grabbed a bowl to put my wrappers and all my garbage in. I'm pretty sure someone on the Food Network taught me that. Like, who was it? Was it Sandra Lee or like Rachel Ray? They always had a thing called a garbage bowl next to them while they cooked to throw all the little scraps in. So I've got my little garbage bowl going to throw things away in now. And I've got, let's see, another stick of butter to add. I've got 4 sticks of butter in this. And I'm going to add my sugar now, my granulated white sugar and my brown sugar. So add all the sugar and the butter in. Now, this is the part of the podcast where I'm a little concerned for your for your ears, for your annoyance or levels. Like, I don't have a hand mixer and I don't have a KitchenAid, and I'm going to be doing this butter and I'm going to be creaming the butter and the sugar by hand. So, while I tell the story of how I got into podcasting, because does anyone, I'm sure that I have new listeners, but I feel like I haven't told that story in a while. And I feel like it makes sense for my 3-year anniversary to like bring you back 3 years on this day to when I started podcasting for the first time. So, essentially, like I said, I'm going to be creaming this by hand, which means I need to blend the butter and the sugar together until it's super light and like fluffy. Like you basically, it's called creaming. Yeah. But, if you don't do that, it's like, there's a science, everything with baking is science, right? It's like something happens when the sugar crystals dissolve into the butter fat. And like, you need that to happen before you can move on to the next step where you add like the eggs and the vanilla. So, I'm going to just talk for a long time here while I do this because it's going to probably take me 10 minutes of nonstop stirring. All right. September 4th, 2020, the 3 years ago, I recorded my first podcast. Do you want to hear it before I like the clip of it first? Should I react to this first and then tell the story? Let's just do it. Whatever. It's so sad for me to listen to this because I was in such a different place in life. I actually released the first episode. Okay. It's a long story. I recorded my first podcast on SoundCloud. Okay. That is my technical first podcast. But it's not on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's not available. It's like a private SoundCloud, like clip or whatever. So I decided, well, now you can listen to it because I decided for my 200th episode, I'm going to release that as my 200th episode. So this is the first time I sat down to record a podcast, and I don't even recognize myself. Whenever I listen to this, I get like immediately depressed. So let's start off before I tell the story with this. Wait. It just sounds so sad in this. Listen.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Jacqueline. I'm going to do a podcast right now on my 2020 experience so far.
Like, who the fuck am I?
It's currently September 1st. I think this.
Oh yeah. So I recorded this. So we're a few days behind. Okay. So I recorded my first episode on SoundCloud on September 1st. Why do all these details matter? I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to like tell the story like exact. I recorded the SoundCloud episode September 1st. My first podcast that went out was on September 4th, like out on Spotify and Apple. Okay.
It's a SoundCloud track you're going to have to listen to this on because I'm not a podcaster, but I'm doing this because I just paused the Joe Rogan Experience. It's a 5-hour and 19-minute episode with Duncan Trussell, and I paused it after 10 minutes because I was like, I just kind of want to do a podcast right now. I just got all inspired. So here we go, 2020. Let's see, January.
Okay, so let me explain what happened there. Like I said, I was sitting down on my couch on this day. I need to cream the butter and the sugar. Oh my God. How am I going to, these cookies are going to take so long to make if I talk and don't mix at the same time. Okay. So I was sitting down on my couch watching the Joe Rogan episode where he was interviewing Duncan Trussell. It was the last interview he did at his old studio before I moved to Austin. I'm sitting on my couch and I got a DM from someone responding to my story. I think his name is Kane or Kanye. I always forget his name. This is actually creaming really fast or like really well because the butter is like super soft. So I got a DM, he responded to my story, and he literally wrote to me, you should do a podcast on this. And I was like 10 minutes into the Rogan episode. I was committed, it's like 9:30 p.m. It's 5 hours long. I popped some popcorn. I'm like ready to watch this whole thing. For some reason, that DM like sparked something inside of me where I was like, I need to like podcast right now, or I just want to like record myself and recap my entire 2020 up until that point. Because if you're not aware, during the pandemic, so when shit hit the fan in March, I moved into a new place all by myself, a 1-bedroom apartment. I was single at the time. I was laid off at my job. I had nothing to do. And I literally spent those first like 4 to 6 months, like I spent them depressed. I don't know. That's like the wrong phrasing. I was just like down and out. I gained 35 pounds. Okay. My health went to shit. My mind went to shit. I literally didn't get out of bed or really leave my place for 2 weeks straight, which was so not normal for me and so odd. And that was like in May. So basically my 2020 was up until September, where everything 180'd after I started podcasting. Yeah, it was really dark and sad, and I was very lost and didn't really have much going for myself. I had no friends. I had no social life. I wasn't doing anything. Like, I finally got help. My sister and my mom came and visited me that summer for my birthday, and they kind of like called me out, and they were like, dude, this isn't you. Like, come on. Like, that's what I like about my family. We call each other out on like, when we're like, we have high standards for each other, if that makes sense. And so I knew it, they knew it. I needed to get well. I needed to see a therapist. I needed to get in shape. I needed to, get a job, like literally get a job. I think I forget the job. Oh my God, it is so hot. I have to turn on the AC right now. I'm breaking a sweat mixing this. I feel like my upper lip is just super shiny right now. Okay. Just turn on the AC. Back to the story. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I was going through a dark depression where I just felt lost. I didn't really have anything going. And then I get this DM on that September night that I should start a podcast or I should do a podcast. And I literally was off to the races and recorded a podcast 7 days a week for 300 days in a row. So that is the story of how I got into podcasting. And you might be like, why did you do it 7 days a week? That's not a podcast. That's a fucking radio show. I felt the immediate, like, what's that called when like all the stars aligned the first time I recorded a podcast, and I felt this spark of like my soul just like came alive, if that makes sense. It felt so good and so freeing to talk all of my problems out day after day after day and just to like release everything in my mind verbally. So I committed. I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is so easy. I was like, I'm just going to talk every single day. I'm going to put something out. And that's I committed to it, which was another issue in my 20s up until that point. I was so half pregnant on 10 different things and committed to none of them. And I constantly made goals, or I constantly strived for, oh my God, how do I mix and talk at the same time? I'm like out of fucking breath. Okay. I would set these outlandish goals and I was never able to achieve them. But this was the first time where I was like, no, I'm going to fucking do this and I'm going to complete it. And I'm going to go all in with this, which is a commitment that I had. That type of commitment is something that I had never made up until that point. So I just felt so empowered, so free. I mean, go listen to my older episodes. Like, it was pretty wild. Like I did some pretty cringy stuff back at the time. I mean, not to say that what I'm doing now isn't cringy, but like, I feel like I embrace the cringe. I feel like that's a thing with like content creators. You just have to like, you truly have to like not care and just be yourself and say what you mean or say what you think and just like put yourself out there. And I totally did that. I had no fucking filter, like none. It was so, sometimes I look back and I was like, damn, like who is she? Like I feel so much more like evolved and mature since then. But it has been 3 years and a lot has changed. A lot has improved. And that's how it all started. So literally someone just sent me a DM and sparked my pod. Like I just got some sort of like thing after that. After I read it, I was like, I'm going to do this. So, okay. The butter and the sugar, I should probably whip it up a little better. It's getting nice and creamed. I kind of want to play a Jackass clip of mine from 2020, and this was kind of like the vibe back then. So like just my personality and just my like fuck it mood I was in. Where is it? I literally fried an egg, and I was like, this is like a bit I did on my podcast.
It's 8 a.m. on a Wednesday in 2020. Shit's on fire out in the world. And you're putting on a headset every morning and talking to yourself. But you know what? I'm feeling wired, so I prepared an egg because I know I'm going to need those healthy fats. 34 episodes in 34 days. I feel like I'm hitting a wall. Ah! Should I eat my egg? I don't know. Dude, I've got Cholula sitting next to me for my egg. Listen, the fact that people are doing what I'm doing right now, and they're like, that is their career. I'm looking at you, Joe Rogan. Why wouldn't I go for it? I'm in my 20s. Gary Vee would tell me, try it all. I'm all in, bitch. I'm all in. All right, I'm going to eat my egg now. So if you're a vegan, just skip ahead. It's a free-range, grass-fed chicken. I prepared the egg on a paper towel here. God, this is going to be gross. I mean, why am I doing that? Oh no, this is disgusting. Guys, I need to be nourished. I need to sound more sane by the next segment of the podcast. What's in an egg? Omegas, maybe. I don't know. What's the disease people have where they can't stand when people chew? Jamie, misophonia. So if you have misophonia, here you go. I have a huge mouth. I'm going to put this whole thing in my mouth. 2020. If you haven't gone crazy this year, you're not normal. That's where I'm at. I'm fucking there. If you're not sitting alone, eating an egg on a podcast on a Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., talking about misophonia, dude, that's where I'm, like, people that haven't lost their shit this year and gone absolutely crazy scare me. I don't get it. Crazy is the new normal.
Okay. Oh my God. Like, that was, I would say, the first, 300, or maybe not 300, maybe the first 100 episodes are kind of like that. I just went off the rails every day. And so should I move? I feel like I'm going to stir this for 20 more minutes and it really doesn't need it. Next steps. Okay. We got to add the eggs. We got to add the vanilla. How are you doing? Or is this enjoyable? Is this a redundant podcast? Because you already know about my podcast story. I'm honestly just, I like retelling my hero's journey or whatever, my, character evolvement. What the fuck is it called? My character development story, my evolution story, because, I think we all can, it's something that everyone has, like anyone that's done anything big. And I consider what I've done the last 3 years pretty big. I'm a solo podcast host. I've put out 350 episodes. I show up every week. I do this. I stay consistent. I think that's a big accomplishment. And I think anyone who's in my shoes or anyone that's built a business or done anything, achieved any goal in their life, any big goal, has that story of how they got started, and I think it's fun to recap it and to reflect on it and go back to where I began, because I think I found so much joy. I don't even know what to say. Like, I feel like I gotta make these cookies. Guys, I feel like, am I even making sense right now? Okay. I did write down a note kind of recapping my podcasting. The term that comes to mind when I think about my podcast is mental freedom, because I was in a prison of my own mind for literally, I would say from middle school through my mid 20s. I think I started my podcast when I was 26, 27, 26. Yeah. So up until that point, I was in a mental prison where I was constantly self-conscious of my personality, of the way I acted. I was insecure about my body. I had all this body image shit. I had all this eating disorder. I had literally had an eating disorder for like a decade. I literally hated myself. I was never proud of anything I ever did. And this is all like behind the scenes, because no one would ever know this looking at me, because my whole persona and what I put out there publicly was, this big smile, and I'm this like happy chick, and I've got it, a decently happy life. But inside, obviously I was miserable, and that's something I hid for so many years. And I struggled with in silence. So the mental freedom I found from podcasting, it changed my life, because I was literally exploring my personality day after day after day that I podcasted, and it healed me. It fully healed me. And I believe in the power of self-talk. I believe in the power of like positive affirmations. And when you repeat the same things every single day, the same positive things about yourself every single day, it will rewire your brain to the point where you love yourself and you like who you are. And that's what happened to me. And I think the number one thing I'm proud of is that I used to wake up and I used to hate myself. I had nothing good to ever say about myself. And now I wake up and I like who I am. And I think that is in my 20s, that is, or in my life, I don't know how far back can I put this? I think, that is what I think one of my biggest accomplishments. And I think it's something that I don't want to have to struggle with for the next 50 years. So I figured that out. It happened to be through podcasting. I know people heal their minds and discover or learn to love themselves in other ways. But for me, it was talking out loud, sharing my story every day. And yeah, here we are. So time to add the eggs. Hold on. Okay, I just realized the reason why I'm so hot is because the oven's right next to me and it's on right now. So, yay. And I'm also wearing all black, all black long sleeves. So did I even tell you how many eggs? 4 eggs at room temp. I'm going to add one at a time. Okay. So we're just going to should I do vanilla? And then I do eggs, then vanilla. Doesn't really matter, but I do one at a time. I'm actually going to use this pre-cracked egg that was cracked at the grocery store last night. Corey and I got Italian food at this new place, and the grocery store is across the street. And I was like, hey, let's go get the chocolate chip cookie ingredients. And then we went in there, and you know when, hold on, let me crack it. You know when things just get all like awkward and like the rhythm and the cadence is just all backwards. Like this chick was bagging her groceries, and like just the way she was doing it was so annoying. I'm like, just set the bag here, but she was setting it there. And then with the eggs, she's like, do you want them in the bag or do you want them out? And she was like moving them around a lot. And then I set them on the little counter thing where the card reader sits, and I like had them there, and then she grabbed them and then set them back in the bag. It was like this weird dance with the fucking eggs. Long story short, as I walked away, I like flipped the whole thing upside down and they cracked on top. Like a few of them did. So I'm going to use those eggs today. Is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I was just like, just set them down and don't move them. Like I wanted to carry them out by myself. But anyways, Corey was getting all frustrated with me. Like couldn't figure out what was going on. These yolks are so dark. I've got the Vital Farms pasture raised eggs today. These were $6.99 at Vaughn's. Like I feel like everywhere else I've seen these, they're like $12. So I think they were on sale. It's probably because they're expired. No, wait, what's the date? It's like next February 2024. So we got a long time to use it. I'm kidding. Okay, so I mix the eggs in one at a time. Again, they're room temperature. This is a great arm workout. One at a time. We're doing 4. So there's 1. There's 2. I used to be able to crack eggs with one hand, and now do I have a shell in there? And now I feel like I can't do that. Maybe I should try. So yeah, I don't know, like enough of this fucking sob story about how I was depressed and how I found myself I mean, what else could I talk about today? I'm just making cookies. Okay. Now there's 2 women in my life that have cookies that can compete with me. One of them is dead and one of them is alive. My dad's mom, my grandma, she had like a famous recipe that she used. And I think her specialty or like her secret was, I think she used Crisco, like lard instead of butter. I think that was her thing. And then my aunt, my grandma died a year ago now, but my aunt makes them also like her. So wait, what am I trying to say? My grandma, her cookies were very like soft and pillowy, and I think it was like the lard. It just made them like kind of like a fake grocery store vibe, but in a good way. And then my aunt, and she gave me that recipe. Like one of the last things my grandma did with me was bring me into her kitchen. She pulled out a recipe book and she gave me her chocolate chip cookie recipe. I just remember that. Now my aunt, her thing is like kind of what I'm doing here now. It's like she always leaves the butter out overnight. I know that. She leaves the eggs out overnight. So she's really into the room temp egg and butter thing. And then I swear her like thing is creaming the butter and the sugar for like 10 minutes straight. And then she also uses these stones in the oven, like those pizza stones. She bakes her cookies on that. And I feel like it gives them like a crispiness that a normal pan, like I'm using normal baking sheets today, like I feel like it doesn't, these sheets don't do the same thing. So the way hers turn out are always like super crispy on the edges and then really soft in the middle, and they're like thinner. So, but she does the Toll House cookie recipe. I'm pretty sure she just uses the one on the back of the package, but it's how she does it. She creams the butter and the sugar forever. She's big on like room temps. I mean, I feel like everyone that knows how to make cookies knows to do, knows to leave the butter out or leave it out at night. Oh my God. Hi, episode 350. It's like my first time. How many eggs did I do? Wait, one. Thank God this carton was full so I can tell how many are gone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. One more egg. Now I pre-measured the flour. It's sitting next to me. So I have 6 cups of flour to add to this in this little bowl. Say a prayer. It's going to be interesting. So eggs. So these are like done. I'm going to set them off to the side. Now I don't measure vanilla. I never have. And also remember how I talked about baking powder puffing up the cookies? I don't know why, but like I have this superstition or like whatever, that the reason why mine turn out so well is because I do 2 straight up teaspoons, of baking soda. Like I make sure they're measured out perfectly. And I do the baking soda where it's like a teaspoon and then a little like I do a little more baking. Did I say baking powder? I think I said baking powder, right? Yeah, I do the 2 teaspoons of baking soda, perfectly measured. And then I do the baking powder, 1 teaspoon with a little more to it. Almost like not a heaping teaspoon, but like, so I add a little more than a teaspoon. I feel like in baking, that kind of thing makes all the difference. And then I buy regular flour. I don't buy like anything special for the flour. I just make sure to measure it really evenly. And sometimes I use less flour than the recipe calls for because I like my dough to be more on the sticky side and less on the dry side. So, and I will teach you something when I add the flour in a sec, because I think that's where people get it wrong. So up until this point, let me just tell you now, up until this point, I'm mixing the shit out of this batter, okay? Or this dough. I don't care that I'm over mixing. I don't care how much the butter melts with the sugar and the eggs. Like, it doesn't matter. So, but when you add the flour, you don't want to over mix it because it'll cause the gluten to whatever gluten does, it'll cause the gluten to do its thing. And when gluten does its thing, baking things you're baking get tough. They get rough and tough. Okay, you want to fold the flour in and mix it just until the point it's combined, not more. You don't want to keep mixing it like I'm doing now with the butter and everything. So yeah, just something to keep in mind whenever you're baking and you're using flour with gluten-free. It's a different story. Whenever I make my gluten-free chocolate chip cookies, I just literally add everything in the bowl at once and I mix it up. So yeah, whenever you're baking with flour, make sure to not over mix, because the gluten will form and it'll make your cookies tough. Okay. Woo! I don't have another drink and this is like running out. Did I even talk about what we did today? We went to the gym. It's literally Labor Day. It's the most beautiful day in San Diego this entire year. Like something about the way the sun rose and like how the weather is today and just like the lighting, like it's super pretty today and sunny. It's probably like 85. It's literally Labor Day. Okay. I have the day off. It's Monday and this is what I'm doing instead. So yeah, again, this is like my favorite thing. Cooking or baking, whatever, and podcasting. My mom's like, or no, someone sent me a DM. I think I posted a steak cooking video and they're like, you need to have a YouTube channel, a cooking YouTube channel. By the way, shout out to Claire Saffitz on YouTube. Killing the fucking game. I love her cooking videos. This is a brand new vanilla pack. I have to like use my teeth to open it. I started watching her videos during the pandemic. It's called like she has like she called it something. She used to be with Bon Appetit. And when that shit hit the fan there with like their CEO or something, he did something racist or I don't remember. It was like I think it happened during the pandemic. Because I was like watching all those Bon Appetit videos on YouTube with Claire and the tall guy and the other tall guy, and they had like a whole cast of characters on their YouTube channel, and I was really into it. They would try to make like the perfect Thanksgiving dinner all together, and everyone would have a different responsibility, or like the perfect pizza, or Claire would always remake like famous foods like pizza pockets, but like in a gourmet way. Or like Cheez-Its, she would try to make those, or like Oreos, or anyways, I was obsessed with the Bon Appetit YouTube channel, and then shit hit the fan with the CEO, and they all kind of like went away, or like some of them stayed, and then Claire left and created her own cooking show on YouTube, which is amazing. She's still popping off. She came out with a book. It's called like, what is her thing called? I should just look it up. Let me just look it up because it's gonna bug me. It's like, what's for dessert? No. Claire Saffitz. YouTube. Dessert Person. It's Dessert Person. That's like her channel. So she also makes like savory foods and anyways. Where am I in the recipe? Okay, vanilla. Vanilla. We're doing vanilla. Was that racist? Am I gonna get I'm just thinking of this really nice lady that makes Corey and we get the same coffee every day, and she has an accent, and the way she says vanilla is really cute. That's not me making fun of her. It's just like the way she says it. We always like it's memorable. Okay. Anyways, vanilla in the bowl. This is where I go wild and I don't care. Just like the chocolate chips, vanilla to me is like more is more. Especially because this is cheap and this probably has alcohol in it. Vanilla bean X. Yeah, this is not. Usually I try to get the alcohol free one, like the pure vanilla, but yeah, it smells pretty artificial. But I think, what's my recipe? Is it 2 tablespoons? No, how many? It's 4 teaspoons. Okay. For doubling the recipe is 4 teaspoons. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just a little bit more. How much is left? Just a little more. I do like 4 dumps and then a little bit more. That's how you measure it. And then I mix that in. Sometimes I add the vanilla and then the eggs. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters. Just what I do. Just copy everything I'm doing. Especially copy the fact that I'm doing this by hand. And don't use a mixer. You'll feel way more accomplished at the end of it. Some people say like they turn out better when you mix them by hand. I feel like the mixer can really aerate the dough and or like the butter and the sugar and really whip it up well so it gets to that really light pale yellow color, where when you do it by hand, I feel like it just never really gets to that point. Okay, now we have to add the flour and the salt and the baking powder and the baking soda. So need to incorporate those ingredients together first. Okay, I have this pre-measured bowl of flour, all-purpose flour, 6 cups. Okay, sounds like a lot, but it's the amount you need. Okay, this pre-mixed or measured bowl, and then I have my 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon plus a little more of baking powder in here, and a whisk. So before you add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, you want to combine them together. You want to combine all of the dry ingredients together. So what I do is I add all of the little mini ingredients, the little like, the leaveners? Is that what they're called? The leaveners and the salt to the flour. And I take a whisk and I combine them together. You can like sift this. You can do you could use a fork. Okay, I just get in there with a whisk and mix it all up because it's going to distribute better into the wet dough when you mix this in. So just do that. Just it's nothing crazy. Just go over it a few times. And then now is the part where you don't want to overmix. So I have my wet dough and I have my dry ingredients. I do it in thirds. So I do the first dump, third of the dry. This is the part where if you're using a KitchenAid, you want to make sure you're doing it on a low speed because you're going to get a flour facial and it's going to puff up everywhere. Now just watch what I'm doing go to YouTube or Spotify. This is going to be a better video experience today than an audio one, but you're just going to want to just gently fold until it's barely combined. By the third dump, you're going to want to fully combine it, but the first 2 dumps, you're going to want to, it'll still look a little white and powdery, if that makes sense. I might not use all of it just based on what I'm seeing here. The little on the dry side already. So you're going to want to make it. So I'm going to show the camera. It's going to look like that. So I didn't super combine it or mix it up or, it's like I podcast and I feel like I choose the wrong words, the wrong combination of words. And after I say something, I'm like, I'm so fucking stupid. I didn't super combine the flour with the wet stuff. It's like, I purposely did cardio this morning, like a bat out of hell I went super hard because I was like, I want to have the mental clarity to bake something and talk at the same time because like, this is not very easy. The fact I have this microphone like perfectly positioned and like I'm able to do this is crazy. Like I thought this height would be all messed up and like I wouldn't be able to just stand here, but it actually worked out really well. Okay, folding the second third of flour and salt and baking powder and baking soda, just gently folding. Okay, so I'm supposed to divide this in half and give half of it to Corey and half of it to my sister, and I'm kind of feeling like I should have tripled the recipe. We'll see. So I still need to add the chocolate chips and all of that. We'll get there in a sec. Okay, now I'm adding the final flour. I think I'm gonna just full send it. You know what? I did this last time and they turned out okay. When I used 6 cups, it just looks very dry. It's like, should I add a couple more tablespoons of butter or something? Like, I don't know. Like, it looks like, if you go to the camera, this literally looks like a bowl of flour right now. So mix. Isn't that Meredith Chick's phrase on TikTok? doesn't she always say like, or no, she always goes, blend, blend, blend. I don't really have a shtick. I feel like I need a shtick. That's one thing I haven't come up with in the last 3 years is like, what's my thing? You know, what's my shtick? We all know this bitch doesn't have a niche. Okay. That's like the number one advice I'd give you right now. If you're like, hey, I'm inspired by your podcast and the fact you've done this for 3 years and, you know, I want to start my own podcast. My number one tip for you would be to niche the fuck down. Okay. Put yourself just talk about cookie dough. Just nerd out about cookie dough or something that specific. Like I was on the Stairmaster today and I'm like, I could just do a podcast about climbing the Stairmaster and like the benefits of the Stairmaster for your health and shit. Cause that's how you I feel like that you can grow faster that way and you're more easily discoverable. Cause you know, we all know I'm a big needle in the comedy podcast haystack. That's literally the category I put myself in. And, that's literally everyone's category. Like every podcast is a comedy podcast. I feel different though, not to say that, you know, I'm special, but like, I'm just going to add, fuck it. I'm just going to add the rest of the vanilla. I feel like I'm a good example of, what was I saying? You know how everyone has a podcast now? It's like, we don't need any more podcasts. It seems like, yeah, everyone you know is like, I want to start a podcast. Everyone's like, I have a podcast, blah, blah. It's like, I identify as someone who's like in the podcast community, I feel like a true, like, artist or entertainer or like, I feel different. I think people start podcasts, they're like, oh, I want to make money online, or I could connect like their business. They could like promote their business through their podcast, or it has some sort of connection to like making money, and which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like I literally do this because I feel like I'm flying. I'm having so much fun. I love expressing myself. This is my art. Like, this is my creative outlet. Like, I feel like I can't go a week without doing this or else I'll start to feel like crazy. Like I need to express myself and podcast. So I truly love it. And I feel like an artist. Like, I get how people, I mean, thank God I have a full-time job on this side. This is my main thing. What do I say? I'm a podcast host, but my PR job keeps the lights on. I get how people become starving artists because they're just obsessed with their art. That's all they want to do. But yeah, so I'm already over. Remember how I said don't overmix the flour? How many minutes did I just stir this? Okay, like I'm pretty sure these are going to turn into hockey pucks now because I think I'm just trying to get all the flour to mix. You know, it kind of gets to a point where you can't, I think by hand, you can't really overdo it. I'm just trying to get the bottom flour to incorporate with the top part. There we go. And then you like roll it over and then it's just still dry. God, I'm so sweaty. It's like, the AC's at 68 and I'm like, the oven's like right next to me and am I sweating? Do I look shiny? So yeah, like podcasting is my true number one passion. Like I do this because it's like my favorite thing to do. I don't know. I feel like people just started podcasts. No like I'm supportive of it all. I think there's room for everyone. I do believe in that. But I just feel like that's something that's maybe unique to me, is that the way I approach it is as if it's like I'm Taylor Swift writing a song. Not to compare myself at all to Taylor Swift, but like that kind of artist thing where you're like, I just need to like get my art out through words and like I need to write this song. It's like, for me, it's like I need to tell my story through my podcast. Oh my God, we have a visitor. Go to YouTube. Here he comes. Who is it? Jimmy. Jim. I left the bathroom door cracked so he could come say hi. Hi, Jim. You guys, I had Jimmy. Did I have him when I started this? I think he was still a puppy. Maybe I should recap like what's changed in the last 3 years, or what's improved, or what I've learned, or okay, I'm gonna add the chocolate chips now, actually, because this is pretty much done. So obviously a lot has changed in the last 3 years and improved. I'd say it's been nothing but improvement, which is wild. Like, the graph just keeps going up as far as like personal development, personal fulfillment in life, growth, career growth, everything just it has gone up. Okay, I've obviously had bad days and lows, but nothing compares to my life before podcasting. And I swear it's like, the whole power of self-talk thing, and working out all my BS through the microphone for 300 days in a row. So, I started from rock bottom. I was bleach blonde. I gained a bunch of weight at the time, which, not that it matters, but it kind of matters because I'm like extremely, it's so fucked up to admit. It's like, I went through all that eating disorder stuff and like body image stuff. And then like, I'm always going to care. I'm not just going to pretend like, oh, I'm like healed now and I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. It's like, no, at that time I didn't want to be in public. I was so self-conscious of my body. I was literally like, I think, have I ever said how much I weighed? Does it matter? It doesn't matter. I don't want people to like compare themselves or whatever. So, that was how I started. And then I got Jimmy. So that was 2020. I got Jimmy in January 2021. And then when did I meet my ex? I went through a year-long relationship before Corey. That was 2021. So that's what it was. I got Jimmy in January. Podcast in September 2020. January, I get Jimmy, my golden retriever puppy. Like May, I start dating this new guy. I started like, things were healing by then because I was doing it 7 days a week. For like, at that point, like almost 300 days. Met this guy in May, dated him for a year. And by that time I went back to brunette. I lost a bunch of weight. I think I lost like most of the weight at that point, because I was walking Jimmy every day. I was going to the gym. I was, taking better care of myself and podcasting every day, working on my mind. Cause I always say like podcasting is like my mental gym. So that was kind of the first year or so, or less. I was less than a year. And then the next year, so 2021, 2022, I meet Corey, break up with my ex, meet Corey 2 weeks later. The rest is history. Now we're engaged, and we're getting married, and that has been like the crazy arc. And then I also had was working at a different company at first, fully remote. And then now I'm in a new company. My podcast is weekly now. It's not daily, obviously. And my health has improved. My everything has improved. I'm like living now. I feel like here's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, it's hard to cut this chocolate and talk at the same time. I feel like before podcasting, I was just surviving and just like, I didn't really have much of a life. Like all I really did was work out, watch Netflix, watch YouTube videos, work, repeat. I think I dabbled in YouTube before, and I was trying to like make YouTube vlogs. Can you even hear me? Am I talking to the microphone? Sorry. Adding the dark chocolate chunks now. But I didn't really have like much going. I didn't have any friends. I was just like living in my little apartment, and everything was just kind of sad and like ho-hum. Where now I'm like doing shit. Okay. Like I'm going on trips. I'm going out with friends. I'm going, like on trip. Like what else am I like supposed to add here? I have activities and things. And remember how I used to joke? I was like, I want to be the socialite of San Diego. I want to be like in the scene, and I want to, be that chick. It's like, I'm not there yet. That's like extreme. Like, I'm not trying to be like going out 3 nights a week and shit, but I've definitely evolved that side of my life, which is the part of my life that was so empty for the longest time. And that's a part of my life, my social life, that bucket, where whenever I'm social and I'm with people and I'm doing fun things and I'm traveling and I'm at parties and I'm you know, at dinners, at concerts, all that stuff, it makes me feel the most full. So I found that, yeah, that was a missing piece. And I think the podcast helped me gain the confidence to go meet people and put myself out there. And is this all cliche and boring and redundant? Like, are you guys just like, bitch, make the cookies and like, I feel like this is just like, it's like kind of corny. Like, I'm just like, hey, podcasting changed my life, and I'm really grateful. But what a wild ride, like, honestly. So mixing the chocolate chips. I just want to eat the shit out of this right now. This looks so good. I'm just mixing them in. Corey requested extra chocolate chips. I'm sure my sister wants that too. Let's see how many more I've got. Got like half of this bag left. I'm just gonna add a bunch more. Then I'm gonna have to wash my hands after this, and I roll them by hand. I don't use a scooper. I just like the creative control of forming my cookie balls, especially because I want the chocolate chips to be like the perfect amount, and I can't really like scoop them up and get that. So yay, I think this is mixed well enough now. Do you want me to taste this? Yes or yes? Okay, cookie dough to the mouth. Let's do it. By the way, I have a dinner to go to tonight. Corey's parents are taking me and Corey's friends out to dinner, like a surprise birthday dinner. So I have to have this done by in the next like hour. Have I eaten today? I had a protein smoothie after the gym. I'm real. I'm fucking real. Does it need anything? No. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm going to get my cookie sheets out. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to form these balls and show you how I make them. And then, or like the size I do and how I put them on the pan. And then I'm going to bake them. Then come back and do a taste test so you can see how they turn out. I just remembered that I brought my original podcasting notebook here today, and oh my goodness, I used to handwrite all my podcasting notes like every single day. I would write the 24-hour update because I was doing it 7 days a week, so I would do like a recap of my last 24 hours since I podcasted, and then throughout the day I would write down all my observations and the things I wanted to talk about. It's really funny to read back on. I might read a few of these when I'm waiting for them to bake. But now I'm going to form the balls and put them on the cookie sheet. While I'm doing this though, I want to talk about some of the themes of my podcast. I'm looking at my notes here in front of me now. So I do like sorry, I'm trying to show you the size. I would say this is what size of ball is this? A racquetball? No. It's like a golf ball and a half size, and I do singular balls. Singular balls, what am I saying? I put the balls on the cookie sheet. I put parchment paper down. And sometimes what I do is I'll do the balls and I'll let them cook and I'll see how the first batch turns out. And then I'll decide from there if I should push on them a little bit, because sometimes they're too tall and the way they bake isn't, they don't bake like, they don't spread out how I want them to. So I'll push them down a little bit. Oh my God, I'm fully forgetting the number one tip of making chocolate chip cookies. My number one tip. Put this in the fridge overnight. Let the dough sit in the fridge overnight and let all the ingredients kind of meld together. And I feel like the flavor develops or something while they sit in a way that it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a nice, the depth of the flavor is just better when you do that. So, and you cook them. So whenever I put them in the fridge, I put them on the pan cold. They still turn out really good, but it's like, if I do them like this, but I don't know. I also feel like the reason why mine are so good is because I know how to like bake them. Like the way you have, like, I'll show you. I feel like the timing is everything. The temperature of the oven, the timing. You just have to know when to pull them out because they're going to continue cooking. And I feel like most people make the mistake of leaving them in the oven too long and then they're crunchy and they're like too brown. So, yeah. So don't do that. All right. I'm putting 2, 4, 6 on the pan. Okay, just put them in the oven for 12 minutes. I'm going to check them around 10, maybe 9, a little before that. I'm always like checking them. I'm always paranoid that they're going to overcook. So I'm going to check them in like 8 to 10 minutes. But yeah, back to what I was talking about as far as I have my notebook here, but I want to read some themes I wrote down, some reoccurring themes of my podcast over the last 3 years. So number 1, I wrote humor is a safe space. I've totally leaned in to my comedic side and I've fully embraced that side of me. And I feel like I've really, what I've learned is that there's a line and what's funny is on the other side is crossing that line. The humor is on the other side of that. And most people get up to the line, like most podcasters, or not most, I feel like everyone's a comedian. Everyone's got a comedy podcast, but say the thing people are thinking, you know what I mean? Like say the thing that people are afraid to say. And I feel like it's a lot of fun. That's where I feel like I'm the most creative, is when I get into that like mode of just like, I get wound up. I'm like on one and I get this like psycho energy where some episodes I'll be like drinking way too much coffee and I'll just be popping off. I'll be ranting about something. And yeah, I've really learned that, yeah, like that's kind of my wheelhouse. Naturally, I'm an entertainer that way. Like, and I remember I've told this story before, like, the first time I found out that I was funny or people around me always wanted to hear what I was going to say because it made them laugh was in high school, because I wasn't really friends with the cool people, but they all liked me, if that makes sense. And I always felt like I was on the outside, like a little leech, like trying to get into their circle. But I ended up making friends with like all the stoner kids in pottery class, and I feel like I picked up their humor because they just like didn't give a fuck and they just said it like it was, and it was just like said it like it is, and they're just like free like that. And so it rubbed off on me. And then yeah, during high school, like I would be in class, and I remember this leadership class I was in, it's called like BSP. I think it was called like, yeah, BSP. And then also one of my literature classes, like I would literally raise my hand and ask a question and the whole fucking class would die laughing. And I'm like, I was not trying to be funny. I was just talking. No, I feel so like I am so dry right now. I am so dried out, boring. You know, I do want to talk about how I think working in the corporate world has made me like ruin my personality. No, I feel like, or maybe it's me getting a little older and more polished around the edges, but like the way I started my podcast, like that energy, that like psycho comedic energy, I feel like has gone away a little bit. And I'm always like, is this because I work a corporate job and it's like all serious all the time? And then when I podcast, I'm like, it like doesn't switch on like it used to. I don't know. I have this whole theory about that. But yeah, like what I'm saying is that I'm so funny and I'm the funniest person I know. And I'm the funniest person you know. And that's why you're listening right now. And oh my God, like this is not the type of podcast that I usually put out. This feels very like reflective, serious. I'm baking cookies. It's very formal. I'm wearing a pink apron. No, what I'm saying is that I won people over. I learned that, yeah, I can win people over through comedy, through making them laugh. And so I would lean into that because all the people I was around I wanted to be friends with all these people that I was making laugh. And I was like that funny girl in class, you know what I mean? So that's when it started. And then, I noticed through like my Snapchat stories in college and my Instagram stories over time, like not so much now, but I used to be like, I would like be in public taking pictures of people and shit I'd see, and I'd put little captions and comments. And I used to do like, I had all these tweets I would write, like, it's like a stupid tweet I remember. I don't know. I had all these like I explored my humor on Twitter and shit. So this is an extension of that. I guess my podcast, like it's like, or a continuation where it's a way for me to explore my personality and especially the comedic side. And back to the theme, the regular theme of my podcast, or one of the major themes, is humor is a safe space. I think every time I listen to a comedy podcast, I was just listening to fucking Tim Dillon and Giannis Pappas, the latest episode of that. And then day before I was listening to Bert and Tom, and it's just like nothing is better than laughter and like laughing. And if I can contribute some humor to society and make people laugh through my podcast, and someone out there who thinks I'm funny, I don't care if it's one fucking person, then yay, you know. I'm trying to keep it light and entertaining most of the time. So yeah. Just like I'm so in my head right now. I'm like, I'm just so dry. You know what I mean? Like I'm not on my period. I'm like, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's my podcasting anniversary. I worked out. I'm making cookies. Like, where's the pizzazz, bitch? Where's the pizzazz? Like, I feel like I need a drink right now. I need something on board. Like, I'm boring. I'm fucking boring right now. So humor is a safe space. Confidence is a choice. Another theme. I learned that even if I didn't believe it, saying positive things about myself out loud, like I used to say the most dumb shit. I was like, I'm going to the top charts podcasting. I'm going to blow it. All these bitches doing it once a week because I do it 7 days a week. I was like, just really like cocky and arrogant. In a sarcastic, like a fun, it wasn't like a serious way. It was like obviously being sarcastic, but I learned that like over time, the more I said positive things about myself, the more I started to believe it. That whole like power of self-talk thing. And I think being confident is a choice. And that's something I struggled with before podcasting for so long, obviously. So now I just wake up every day. And I think it's also a combination of, I don't have the shit talking thing in my head anymore, where I'm like, how many times have I literally shit talked myself on this podcast? Like I'm constantly cutting myself off. Like, bitch, you're so boring. Spice it up. Like, it's because I'm also a harsh critic of me as a podcast. I'm not saying these things because I hate myself. I'm saying them because I have high expectations of my podcast and how I'm entertaining you, and I want this to be fun and a good time. So I don't want to be boring, and that's why I'm calling myself out throughout the episode. Okay. Why does it sound like I'm out of breath? Is this a 4-hour podcast? Wait, are the cookies burning? We have 3 minutes and 26 seconds left. So I need to check them like now. 1 sec. Okay, they're definitely going to need those 3 more minutes. They're very soft and doughy. So, yeah, the whole confidence is a choice thing. Yeah, I wake up every day and I choose confidence. Okay, I choose happiness. It's not, it's like, I don't even think about it anymore. It just is, because I think my lack of confidence came from my constant negative self-talk, because if that little voice is going on in your head all day, because mine literally was from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, it was negative thoughts about myself, negative. So that creates low confidence, low self-esteem, poor self or bad self-image or self-perception. So because I've eliminated all of those negative thought patterns, it's easy for me to be confident. I don't think I'm lacking and I suck. And I think it used to be like, I thought I hated who I was, which is like dark and very like, that's like pretty severe. Where like, not like, oh, I hate that I suck at following through with my goals. It was like, no, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a worthless human being because I never achieved what I wanted. Like, it was that bad. So because I don't have those negative thought patterns, it's easy for me to be confident. I just feel like you have one life. Like, I always promote this too. Another major theme is like, be your biggest fan, be your biggest cheerleader, be your best friend. Like, hype yourself up, look yourself in the mirror every day, tell yourself you're the shit, because you are. And like, there's no one else but you. And once you embrace that and realize that, it's freeing. And then you don't have all the worry about how people think of you, or like, because you're rooting for yourself every day. So that's an extremely important theme of my podcast is being your own best friend, like choosing confidence every day, choosing happiness. Again, why do I feel like this is so cliche and stupid, but like I really want to, I'm reflecting because it's been a hell of a journey over the last 3 years. And so I gotta pull these out. They have 23 seconds left. Okay, there they are. The cookies are a little underdone. You're gonna look at them and think they're too doughy and they need more time, but trust me, when they slightly turn golden brown in the edges, like think of like toasting a marshmallow, you know how, or roasting, toasting a marshmallow, you know, when it gets that first little flicker of brown to it, like that little tiny bit of toastiness. Same thing with the cookies. That's when you want to pull them out. So these are going to sit, they're going to continue to cook through, and just don't mess with them. Don't take them off the pan. Sometimes I don't even put them on a rack. I was going to say, sometimes I put them on a cookie sheet, like a cookie rack, but I'm just going to let them sit and do their thing. And as they do that, I'm literally going to leave them here and keep talking about my podcast. So, I'm going to go back to the themes. Talk about humor is a safe space. Confidence is a choice. And another thing, the fact I was decisive for once, the fact I decided to be a podcast host, that was one of the most impactful things I shifted. What am I saying? One of the I think there's so much power in being decisive and so much freedom in being decisive, and life is so much easier when you're decisive. And what am I trying to say? Up until that point, I always had these big ideas about like what I wanted to do, and I dabble, right? I was in my 20s. I'm still in my 20s. Holy shit. Got less than a year left. Okay. Fuck. I would dabble. Okay. I was like, what are the things I used to try? I was vegan for 3 years. I was a big yogi chick. I was obsessed with like food they all had to do with like diet and fitness. Holy shit. I was obsessed with like the food combining thing, or like CrossFit, or like I was a runner. What else did I dabble in? Tried YouTube vlogging. I was trying to do like fashiony stuff on Instagram. I dabbled with like the cliche influencer shit. Whatever. What am I trying to say? I never picked any one of those things and like ran with it and stuck with it. And I'm glad, obviously, I didn't stick to veganism, thank God. But I feel like I didn't, nothing stuck. And for good reason, because none of those things, okay, all of those things were me seeking out an external path or hobby or whatever endeavor to fix myself or to be a better version of myself, which is, you would think that's like a positive thing. This is how I want to phrase it. Yeah. Where podcasting felt like writing with my right hand and not my left hand. It was just like so easy and seamless, and it felt so right. And I decided, the whole point of me saying this is I decide, it was like day one, I'm like, I recorded the first episode, that really depressing clip I played earlier. And I was like, I'm going to do this. It's funny how in that clip, I'm like, I'm not a podcaster. You're going to have to listen to this on SoundCloud. Like how funny is that? Now look at me. But I felt empowered because I made that choice. And I think it feels good. Oh my God, Jacqueline, get the words out. It feels good to make a decision, decide, pick something. And I think if you're someone who struggles with their self-image or identity, if you have identity issues and you don't really know who you are and what you do, you're just like twirling around like a top, and you're just like going from one thing to the next thing, and you don't really have a good pillar of like who you are, pick something. And I just happened to pick something that I'm obsessed with and that I'm extremely passionate about. And that's ideal. Like if you can pick something you have a ton of passion for, and you're not just doing it because you think you should do it or whatever, like, and then you're going to build confidence, because I know Ed Milet said this, and or was it Andy Frisella? Andy or Ed Milet? They're like literally I was listening to them when I was like 18, walking around my college campus, like nerding out to the self-improvement shit. I think Ed Milet said, you build confidence by keeping promises to yourself. So when I set out and said, I'm going to podcast 7 days a week, and I did that every single day, I would see a new episode come up on my Spotify or my Apple. I kept seeing it come through, and I was like, okay, this feels good. I've committed to this. I've decided that I want to be a podcast host, and I'm doing it. And then over time, when I saw this episode stacking up, something about seeing that over time made me feel really confident and really proud of myself for once. So that's my whole point. Like decision, being decisive is another main theme and something I believe in. There's so much power in that. It's like that book, and I had read it before I started podcasting. It's called The One Thing. I'm pretty sure it's called The One Thing. And it kind of breaks down how like a lot of the greats out there in the world are obsessed with their like one thing, and they don't waver from it. And that's how they become great. It's because they're focused on one thing. They're not split between 10 things. And it's funny because recently you guys have probably heard me bitch and complain about how I'm planning a wedding. I have a full-time corporate job. I'm a podcast host, full-time content creator, editor, producer, writer. Like I'm a dog mom. I'm a housewife. Like I constantly bitch and complain about how like I'm stretched so thin, but there's a lot of truth in that. And I am the type of person, now I make it work. Okay. I'm a hard worker. I make it work. I'm very privileged, and I know that. And I have a very sweet life. I'm just saying that I feel like some people can benefit from just picking a couple things, and that's all they do, and that's all they focus on, and that's what they stick with. So obviously the dream for me is the podcasting and the housewife shit, and this is my full-time income, but that takes time. That takes a lot of work, obviously, and I'm in it for the long run. I'm not going anywhere. You'll see me in another 3 years. That's not even a question to me. But yeah, I think if you're kind of like stressed out, it's probably because you're doing too much, and just pick one thing and just stick with it. So that's another theme. These are looking beautiful. They're probably have a few more minutes until I'll taste one. 100% personal accountability is another theme. I've witnessed so many people in my life. Let's just say family. I've witnessed family members. Let me just get more specific. repeat the same behavior year after year after year after year after year. They repeat the same behavior. They come across the same problems and nothing changes. And they go their entire life where that area is just like in the shitter at all times. And so the theme I wrote down is 100% personal accountability because, which kind of ties into self-awareness because, which is another main theme or core value. Because I realized through observing that that's no way to live. That seems like it's a living hell. And it feels so good to just own up to your bullshit, because I always say this, like, when you're doing something, when you've hurt someone's feelings, when you made a mistake, when you treated someone poorly, everyone has a conscience, like, that. And so, and being stubborn, and I just licked my lips so creepily. Oh my God. Sorry. But being stubborn and pointing the finger and not taking accountability and blaming and all that, it's like so toxic, and that builds up over time to the point where like you ruin relationships with family members, you ruin friends, whatever, romantic partners. Like, it's just an unhealthy way to live. So I have learned, and it has helped, especially my relationship with Corey. Like, he's the same way. It's like something we like both super agree on and something we practice all the time. Like, we immediately own up to our shit the second it happened. Like, not the second, I mean, that's extreme, but like literally within the hour or as it's happening, you admit fault, you say you're sorry, and you apologize, and you try to work it out. You don't let it fester and have this like resentment thing build up and go into your separate corners. And like, that's where like the anger and the toxicity grows. And it's just like, once you realize, and I think for me, it was like a realization that it feels good. It feels good to be decisive. Okay. It feels good to express myself and entertain you with humor on my podcast, because that was the other theme. And it feels good to own up to your mistakes and take 100% accountability for your actions at all times. Like, it just like, I feel like if you don't do that, you live a life of, there's just like always something on your shoulder, like, or like it's like a heavy weight just like always with you. Because every time you run into those people you have bad relationships with, where you've been mean to them or you've hurt them, and so it's like, and it's never addressed, you never apologize. It's just like, that's you're carrying that with you everywhere you go. So 100% personal accountability is another core value or main theme of my show. Should I taste one? I'm kind of getting bored of this like self-improvement talk shit, honestly. Like, again, I'm reflecting, but like, is this what we came here for? The cookies. We did not come here. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm just like doing something new today in my kitchen, but wow. Okay. Let me like really get into this. They're still kind of, yeah, it's kind of mushy a little bit because they're still hot, which is like the best time to eat them. I didn't really show you the bottom. This is not the presentation I wanted. Wait, let me maybe lift this one up. I'm just trying to show you how the bottoms look. They're too hot. I don't know if you can see on there. They're like perfectly golden brown. But yeah, they literally have to sit for like 10 to 15 minutes. So they can set. Wow. Okay. So okay, enough of the fun stuff. Another theme. Do what works for you. Focus on big picture, not details. You are the creator of your reality. Health is wealth. You guys, should I end the episode? Like, I don't know why I went this route. Fuck. My core values are authenticity, integrity, self-awareness, decisiveness, common sense, and joy. Corey wants to talk. Let me get him on the horn. Tell him he's on the podcast. He always calls in.
Hello?
Okay, I just pulled out the first batch and you're on the podcast right now.
Oh, hi.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, I found a really cool house.
Oh, well, don't tell him where it's at.
Huh?
I'll have to bleep that.
Well, that's fine. Well, it's whatever. That I wanted to go with you and look at today. But
What time?
I mean, like right now. I don't know when you'll be done.
I'll wrap up. I mean, I have to bake all the cookies, but I can probably just like put it in the fridge.
Okay.
Like you'd pick me up and...
Yeah, or we can just meet there, but yeah, that's fine. I can pick you up.
Is it like we got to go now?
I'll be there in like 30 minutes, but it's I could be there in 30 minutes.
Do you want to FaceTime me while you're there?
I mean, you'd like to see it, just...
I know, but I'm like, I gotta finish this episode and like,
Okay.
I feel like I want to, can we see it tomorrow or?
I'm busy tomorrow.
I know, me
it's a
too.
holiday.
Fuck.
So, just finish when you just finish. We can go in, maybe like in an hour or something.
Are you gonna pick me up or are we gonna drive separate?
Yeah, I'll pick you up.
Okay, I'll finish and that's perfect. Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
All right, love you.
Bye. Love you too.
Bye. Oh God, the drama of our lives. No, I'm kidding. Just buying a house. So yeah, I feel like I just, have all these wholesome things to talk about here on my podcast. Do what works for you. Yeah, that's another main thing. Let me just go back to that. Wow, this cookie's really good. Like, here I am giving advice, unsolicited advice, but the internet is full of so much information and so many tips and tricks on how to be a person and how to live a healthy, happy life. And I swear, like, this whole generation of people or like up and coming, it's like all about being happy. People are obsessed with like chasing happiness and like, being happy. And like we're always seeking like the little hack or the tip to like feel good and like have optimal health, and are obsessed with like morning routines and cold plunging, all this shit now. So, which is, they're good things. People mean well and they are promoting health, which is obviously a good thing. But with that being said, I always say do what works for you, because I have literally dabbled in it all. I've tried it all. I've heard all about, I've heard like every wellness tip. I've heard of every mindset tip, every biohacking morning routine tip, productivity tip, time blocking, time stacking, journaling, meditation, like just you name it. I've like literally heard it all. So something that I've learned is that it's good to dabble in it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's good to try things out and to get inspired and excited about a new wellness trend or new habit you want to create. But if it doesn't work for you, like if you're like, what the fuck, every time I cold plunge, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack and I feel miserable after, but like everyone's talking about all these endorphins they get from it, and I literally feel like shit and I think I need to go, like, don't cold plunge. Like, you don't have to do it. So, and that goes with everything. Yeah, just try things out and do what works for you. And it's kind of like fun to have your own personalized shit that no one else does. I don't know. I feel like everyone's just copying each other. And I used to make the joke that my morning routine is I get up, I drink coffee, and I get to work. I don't sit and meditate. I don't sit and journal. I don't sit and drink the lemon water. I don't fucking look at the sun, and I don't get my toes, deep into the dirt and do the fucking grounding shit. Like, I just like simplify. And so, yeah, I don't know how I got here. Oh, do what works for you. Tune in to your own intuition and follow that. Like, and stop seeking answers out from the internet for every problem in your life. Like that's my other big advice or tip. Speaking of going, like I'm like such a, I don't know, is this like hypocritical, or is this like, what do you call this? Do I need to end it? I feel like I'm hitting a wall. It's because of the accessibility of information now. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. I feel like the easy route is to go straight to the internet to find the answer to your problems. But no one's teaching anyone how to tune in. Like I feel like everyone knows the answer. If you really got square with yourself and looked yourself in the mirror, and if you've got a problem in your life and you're like, I don't know what the fuck's wrong, I need to figure this out, it's like, go inward. Think about, like, tune into your mind and your wisdom of being, and think back to all of the experiences you've had where you've overcome something, or revert back to what used to work and try that again. Like, go inward instead of seeking information and answers from the internet all the time, because I think it disconnects you from yourself, and it makes you, I feel like you lose that trust in yourself. And I'm saying this because it's happened to me. And I still have to be like hyper aware of this, because I swear, like, everyone on the internet is talking about a tip and a trick and a hack and all day long. Like, it's everyone just selling that on their podcasts right now. And it's just easy to get suckered in, where you're like, yeah, going to the internet for all your problems and trying to get all the answers there. But it's like, you have it inside of you. You really do. And so what I've learned over time is that it feels good. I always go back to what feels good. I'm all about, like, how does it feel, right? Like I said, it feels good to be decisive. It feels good to, what was the other one I said? Humor is a safe space, decisiveness. It feels good to be accountable for your actions and to, like, own up to your mistakes and release that instead of harboring all that negativity and being stubborn. It also feels good to, like, go within and to, like, do things for yourself based on your own intuition and not because of what someone else told you to do. And it's hard in this day and age. It's like everything you know is from, like, something you learned from a fucking TikTok you saw, or like a Instagram post, or like that. I swear, like, everything comes from the internet now, like all of your knowledge, and it's fine. But just, yeah, pick and choose, do what works for you, tune into your intuition. He just sent me the house. I have to be at this house tour in an hour. Fuck. Okay. And oh my God, another major theme, something that I'm extremely big on, is zooming out and focusing on the big picture. This was a cooking show. This was hi, welcome to the anniversary podcast. I've done this for 3 years. I'm going to bake cookies and share with you my secret recipe. And now we're literally in the mindset trenches, or like the holistic mindset trenches and tips and oh my God. This is what I do. I could literally talk for 4 hours about this stuff. Oh my God, my hair. So another bite of this cookie. God damn. Should I just turn this into a mukbang? Okay. Focus on the big picture, not the details. Let me get back to this. What I've observed and noticed in my life when I'm around other people is that there's like two types of people. People that obsess over small problems, small little details, every little aspect of their day and their to-do list and their schedule and where they need to go, where they need to be, how they need to act, how they need to dress, what they need to, it's like every little detail is like they put a lot of value and weight to it. And therefore they're high anxiety, high strung. These are like your super type A, like go types of people that seem like warriors about literally everything. It's like I'm trying to think of something I did today where they'd fucking freak out. Like, I don't even know, but there's those types of people. And then there's like there's not the good people. Then there's the me's of the world, where we are, and you're probably like this too. If you're listening, you're probably more chilled out, or I hope you are, because what the fuck? Why are you worried about shit that doesn't matter? Like all the little details all the time. It's good to be detail oriented, but not to the point where you're like, you put so much value and weight to it and you're stressed out all the time. I have learned that, and the way I have evolved to be is a person who zooms out and looks at the big picture and has perspective. Now, I don't know if this is a trauma response. I don't know if being chill, like a super chilled out, calm person is a trauma. Like, I feel like I've evolved to be this way because, yes, I've experienced a lot of hard times and trauma and abuse and all this stuff in my childhood. And, you know, I've had a lot of hard times even in my 20s, whatever. And so now I have this perspective where like, I'm not dead. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, the big picture is like, okay, yeah, this sucks right now. Yeah, this little detail, that went awry, that went wrong. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm not going to freak out over it because based on the history of my life and what I've learned, I will overcome this and I will not be dead. Like, as long as I'm not, that's the whole thing. Like it's the whole like Marie Forleo, is that her name? Also used to nerd out to her podcast or her stuff. Everything is figure outable, I think was her like phrase or her mantra. Like, everything has a solution. You've proven this to yourself time after time after time. Like, every problem you've ever encountered, it sucks, but you will get to the other side. Even the small things, missing the appointment, forgetting your keys, locking your keys in your car, like getting locked out. I'm just thinking of all these situations, like get locked out of the house. Your shoes are, you're wearing 2 different pairs of shoes, or your shirt's on backwards, or you shit your pants in public. Like, everything has a solution. You always get to the other side. And literally, you always get to the other side. To me, it's like, as long as you're not dead, you solved, like, how does this work in my mind? I know this is extreme, but this is the kind of perspective I have. It's like extreme gratitude that I'm alive and that I have a roof over my head and hot showers, good food, love, like healthy relationships, cute dogs, like fucking cookies to bake, like a ring on my, I'm got this fucking rock. Like, I'm so fucking blessed. So like, it's like zoom out. I have extreme gratitude because I know how blessed I am. I know how good I have it in this life, and realize that like, unless my safety, my physical safety is in extreme fucking danger and I've got bombs getting dropped on my place and like people shooting at me, I'm fine. I will figure this out and I'll get through it. And that's why I have learned, and I always fucking talk about this, that the successful people, my mom taught me this, successful people recover quickly. And they go from, she always said that successful people recover quickly. It's like my mom's like wise advice, but they go from the problem to the solution in a short of time possible. So like when you get a flat tire and you're on the side of the highway, successful people that like get shit done in the world and they're happy and they're having a good life, they have that flat tire happen. They get the flat, what the fuck? They run over the nail, the side of the highway, and they go, oh fuck, for like 2 seconds, and then they're like calling AAA, they're calling whatever, they're a tow truck, I don't know. They go to the solution. Okay, this sucks, my tire's flat, I'm kind of stranded right now, so I need to like get my car towed or get this tire changed, or they'll just like go put the spare tire on, immediately just go into that action, versus people that, holy fucking shit, fuck this shit, they like spiral out of control, they freak out, they have a temper tantrum over what just happened. And I feel like that's normal, that's human. So I'm basically promoting be a robot and don't have emotions in tough situations. And maybe that's a very like masculine, military kind of mindset to have. But I think it's just like a better way to handle stuff when you just like get to the solution as fast as possible, because it feels better. It feels better than wallowing in it, fighting it, screaming about it, swearing about it, kicking, just like, that's why I don't understand when people have road rage. I'm like, that is so out of your fucking control. That other person, like I never waste my breath on other drivers. Very rarely do I ever make a comment about someone driving next to me or like in front of, like, I can't control their drive. Like I can't do anything about it. So why would I even waste my energy freaking out on them? So yeah, I focus on the big picture. That's my main theme. I go from the problem to the solution in the shortest time possible. And it's just a good way to live. Okay. So, that is all. Goodbye. Thanks for, no, I'm kidding. Did I miss anything? I also wrote, I'm not for everybody. I learned that. Yeah, that's a big hurdle I crossed, the whole people pleasing thing. Like, who is she? Like, I learned very quickly with this podcast that, I'm not for everybody. I think I'm the type of person, I think this goes for every content creator out there. Like, you're either rocking with them or you're not. Some people just annoy you for whatever reason, and that's okay. I probably annoy people. I probably piss them off. It is what it is. Like, that's inevitable. Like, you're putting yourself out there publicly on the internet. You're speaking your mind. You're being authentically you, and not everyone's going to like that. And that's okay. And so that's a huge like hurdle I cross for myself, is like embracing that and embracing that I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. So, I think I will wrap it here. Okay. The cookies are like levitating off this now. Oh my God. Okay. Big reveal. Yay. Okay. So like, these are perfect. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Okay. So yeah, they sat for like what, 10 to 15 minutes there. Which one has the best bottom on it? Sounds sexual, but, do this one. I'll break this one. Okay. So here is can you see on the camera, the golden brown bottom, the gooey center. Ooh. Yay. Perfect cookies. They're very chocolatey. Like, I know Corey wants extra chocolate chips, but sometimes it's like too much. Oh my God. Nothing better. Nothing fucking better. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for following my podcast and supporting me over the last 3 years. I love getting your DMs. I love when you tell me about something you related to on the podcast episode, or just random stuff you send me. I really appreciate the messages, the reviews, your just time, like just the thanks for hanging out with me over the last 3 years. Like, it's crazy. Like, 350 episodes. I don't know how many, let's just call it 350 hours of me talking. Like, how many days is that? It's a long time. So yeah, thanks for the support, and following my journey, and, having some fun with me along the way. So, wow. Those are rich as fuck. I can do like maybe two. That's like what, 1.5. Woo. I'm just gonna say this now. If you want to start a podcast, this is your sign. This is your sign. This is your sign. Okay. If I can do it, you can do it. Just post something. Just put it out there. It's so freeing. Like, I think that's the word. Like, people seek financial freedom in this life. People, that's a big thing. Like, people want to be financially free. Like, I think mental freedom is the number one advantage in society right now. over financial freedom, because I think if you have financial freedom but you're not mentally free, what's the fucking point of having all that money? So mental freedom. I podcasted now for 3 years. I've put out 350 solo episodes all by myself. And I went from being in a living fucking hell of a mental prison to a mental paradise, a mental freedom where I can only go up from here. You know, life can, it's like, and I say this all the time to Corey, you know, we just got engaged and I'm just like, it's a mind fuck. Like I literally was like, how does it get any better than this? Like I'm like, is this, you know, people chase happiness, people chase all this stuff. It's like, I have never been so full and happy and like loved in my whole life. And I'm like, it's a trip. I'm like, it's because I think it's such a trip because I went for so many years in the dark depths of my mind and I was in hell, like a mental prison. So it's like, what the fuck? But I attribute it back to what I was saying. Like, I honestly think the podcasting, healed me, helped heal me. I had to do the work. Obviously it wasn't all just from blabbing on my microphone, but, yeah, I'm really proud of myself. I really can't just say enough positive things about myself now. And it's, yeah. So yeah, I hope this was a source of inspiration, a source of comfort and joy and companionship for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my chocolate chip cookie recipe. Let me know if you try it. It's nothing groundbreaking, honestly. I think it's just the ratio of the baking soda and the baking powder. Yeah, let me know if you tried it. Post a picture, send it to me, or whatever you want to do. That'd be cool. And here's to another 3 more years of podcasting. 3 more years of podcasting. Who the fuck knows where I'll be in 3 years? I'll probably be knocked up, burping a baby on here while I'm podcasting. I'll be like changing diapers. We'll probably be moved into this new house we're going to go look at. No, it's so crazy. Like buying a house. Oh. Life is like actually crazy how it unfolds. And I'll leave you with this. You are the creator holy shit. You are the creator of your reality. Okay. Everything starts and ends in the mind. So if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. When I say, and I'm just going to fucking toot my own horn right now. I don't care. And I've always said this about myself, but it's become more and more true in the last couple years. Like everything I've ever dreamed of, I have. And I have it when I wanted it, if that makes sense, which is a little trippy because I think for some people, they have these dreams and aspirations for their life, but it doesn't unfold in the time they want it to, or it's out of order. And it's crazy how like I had this vision for my life and what I wanted, and it's literally been like to a T. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to cut myself off. Happy baking. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to subscribe to the show and leave me a review while you're there. One of the best things you can do for a podcast host, and for me specifically, is leave a 5-star review on the show after you listen to it. Helps us out probably the most out of anything. So review the show, subscribe. Hit me up on Instagram at Jacqueline Monroe, TikTok at Jacqueline Monroe. And if you want to get access to my bonus content, please head over to patreon.com/tjms. It's where you can watch extra vlogs, extra podcasts. It's $5 a month. Go check it out. Patreon.com/tjms. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face just to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you gon' wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes my dynasty.